My name is Maya, and this story isn't just about business. It's about trust. It's about dreams. It's about pain. And most importantly, it's about what happens when the people closest to you take everything you've built and walk away like it was never yours to begin with. You see, my ex and I weren't just in love. We were partners in every sense of the word. Late nights with coffee-stained notebooks, scribbling ideas on napkins in diners, staying up until 3 a.m. imagining a future we could build together. We believed we had something special, something that could change the world. We didn't just dream, we planned. I spent months researching, designing the business model, the branding, the customer journey, every single detail. I had poured my soul into it. He had ideas too, but the framework, the structure, the core, that was mine, my vision, my blueprint. I never saw the betrayal coming. One morning, I woke up to a friend sending me a link. "Didn't you have a plan just like this?" they asked. I clicked the link with shaking hands. There it was, my dream, launched, public, polished, and completely stripped of me. He hadn't just left. He had taken everything I built and made it his own. The air left my lungs. I remember staring at my phone for what felt like hours. My head spun. Was this a nightmare? A sick joke? I felt like someone had reached inside and pulled the future right out of me. I wasn't just betrayed. I was humiliated. My dream, my work, was now credited to someone who had once held my hand and told me we'd build it together. And what cut deepest? He never even said a word. No apology, no explanation, just gone, like I was never part of it at all. I spiraled for days, weeks. I cried in my car. I stopped answering calls. I couldn't even open my laptop. What was the point? Everything I had worked for was gone, and everyone was watching him succeed with my dream. People were congratulating him, celebrating his vision. And me? I was curled up in bed, wondering how I could have been so stupid, so blind, so trusting. That moment, the moment I realized he wasn't coming back, and the dream I had wasn't just stolen but flaunted, I knew I had 2 choices: stay broken or rebuild. At the time, I didn't feel strong. I didn't feel resilient. I felt like a ghost of myself. But deep down, something in me was starting to shift. Slowly, quietly. I wasn't ready yet, but I was beginning to realize that this story wasn't over. It couldn't be. Not if I still had something to say. Not if I still had that fire. I didn't know how, but I knew I would build again. After the betrayal, everything inside me felt like it had burned to the ground. There were days I couldn't even look in the mirror without feeling ashamed. Not because I'd failed, but because I had trusted the wrong person. And that kind of betrayal doesn't just break your heart. It makes you question your instincts, your worth, your ability to judge character. I kept asking myself over and over, how could I have missed it? How could I have let him in so deeply that he had access to everything I'd created? The truth is, I needed time to grieve. Not just the relationship, but the version of my life I thought I was building. I had to sit with that pain, feel it fully. The loss wasn't just emotional. It was professional, spiritual, personal. But somewhere in that silence, those long, lonely nights and quiet mornings, I started hearing a different voice. Not the loud, critical one that told me I was foolish or naive, but a quiet one, whispering, "You're still here. You still have the spark." So I did something I never thought I'd have the strength to do. I forgave myself. Not for dreaming, not for building something beautiful, but for letting someone else steer the ship. I realized I had handed over too much power to someone who didn't deserve it, and now it was time to take it back. I opened my notebook again, this time a new one, blank pages, clean slate. I didn't look back at the stolen plans. I didn't even reference the old outlines. Instead, I asked myself, What would I build now, knowing what I've learned? That question was my turning point. Starting from scratch is terrifying, but there's also something incredibly liberating about it. I no longer had to compromise. I no longer had to share my vision. This time it was mine and mine alone. I worked harder than I ever had before. Mornings blurred into nights, weekends vanished, but I didn't care. Every ounce of effort felt like a stitch mending the tear in my spirit. It wasn't just about building a business, it was about reclaiming my identity. I wasn't trying to compete with what he'd stolen anymore. I was building something better. Not just better than what we had planned together, but better because it was me. Every decision, every direction, every pivot came from a place of clarity and strength I didn't know I had before. And as I kept moving forward, something incredible started happening. I began to feel proud again, not just of the progress I was making, but of the fact that I didn't let the betrayal define me. That pain had once felt like a grave, but now it felt like the foundation of something much more powerful. I was rising, and this time, no one would be able to take it from me. There's something magical about beginning again, not because it's easy, but because it forces you to become someone stronger than you were before. After all the heartbreak, all the betrayal, and the quiet hours rebuilding from scratch, I finally reached a place I never thought I would. Clarity. Pure, focused, unshakable clarity. I remember one specific morning. The sky was still dark, the world quiet. I sat at my kitchen table, sipping coffee from a chipped mug, surrounded by scribbled notes, sketches, and spreadsheets, and for the first time in a long time, I felt peace. Not because I had all the answers, but because I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I had a vision, not borrowed, not shared, not compromised. A vision that belonged to me. This time, I wasn't chasing validation. I wasn't trying to prove a point or win a race. I was building with intention. Every choice I made, every email I sent, every small win I celebrated, it was all rooted in purpose. There was no noise, no one to interrupt the process or take credit, just me and the work. And honestly, it felt powerful. I launched quietly. No big announcements, no press releases or parties, just a simple, heartfelt message to the people who mattered. And the doors opened. Customers trickled in slowly, then steadily. I had taken the lessons from the first version of the business and woven them into something even more authentic, more refined. It was simpler in some ways, but far more meaningful. And then growth happened. Word spread. Feedback was glowing. Sales increased. Suddenly, the dream I thought I had lost forever was not only alive, but thriving. And better yet, it was thriving on my terms. I remember the day I hit my first big revenue goal. I didn't shout. I didn't scream. I sat in silence for a moment and let the tears come. Not out of sadness, but out of relief. Out of pride, because every single step of that journey had been mine. Every hard choice, every lonely night, every leap of faith. I had done this, not in spite of the betrayal, but because of it. What started as heartbreak had become transformation. I didn't just get back what I lost, I surpassed it, not only financially, but emotionally, spiritually. I had grown in ways I never expected. I had proven to myself that I was capable of more than I ever gave myself credit for. There's something deeply fulfilling about building something with your bare hands, especially when it rises from the wreckage of something someone else tried to destroy. This business isn't just a project. It's a reflection of who I became when I refused to let the worst moment of my life define me. It's proof that starting over doesn't mean starting small. Sometimes it means starting right. Looking back now, it's hard to believe how far I've come. If you had told me, in those first few days after the betrayal, that I would someday be standing taller, stronger, even, I wouldn't have believed you. I was crushed, emotionally wrecked, and honestly, embarrassed. But I've learned that our lowest moments don't define us. It's how we rise from them that writes our real story. That journey taught me more than any business school or mentorship ever could. The first and most powerful lesson? Trust your gut. I knew, deep down, I had ignored red flags. I had quieted the small, intuitive voice that whispered, "Protect your vision. Be careful who you share it with." That mistake hurt me deeply, but it also made me sharper. Now I listen to that voice. I guard my ideas, I share selectively, because it's not selfish to protect your dreams. It's wise. The second lesson? Be resilient. You're going to get knocked down in life, sometimes by strangers, sometimes by people you love. That's unavoidable. But what you do after the fall? That's where everything changes. You can cry, you can scream, you can sit in the wreckage for a while, but eventually, you've got to stand up, because no one else can live your dream for you, and if you give up on it, no one else will carry it forward. And maybe the most important thing I learned, own your vision, with everything in you. Don't let anyone, not even the people closest to you, chip away at your sense of purpose. If something was placed on your heart to build, then it belongs to you. No one else can bring it to life the way you can. That's your superpower. This story isn't about revenge. It's not about getting even or proving someone wrong. It's about perseverance. It's about the quiet, consistent, sometimes lonely work of rising, of showing up for yourself, even when you don't feel ready. It's about finding strength in the wreckage and using it as a foundation for something new. I didn't just rebuild the business. I rebuilt me. The woman I am now is braver, wiser, more intentional. And every success I've earned tastes sweeter because I know what it cost me. I know the climb, I know the fall, and I know the fight it took to rise again. So, if you're listening to this and you've lost something, an opportunity, a relationship, a piece of yourself, I want you to know it's not over. You can start again, and not only that, you can build something even better than what you lost. Because the truth is, nothing stolen from you can take away your ability to dream again. Nothing broken can stop you from building again. You are more resilient than you know. And if my story proves anything, it's that the fire meant to destroy you can become the fire that fuels your rise. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. And tell me in the comments, have you ever had to rebuild after someone let you down? I'd love to hear your story. Let's lift each other up. Because no matter what you've lost, your comeback can still be greater than your setback.